Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Salt Princess here, and today I wanted to introduce you to a sort of a very off-meta build that I've been working on and trying to min-max, and I've actually been having quite a bit of fun with it. I want to introduce you to my Uber Lab speed farming Impale-based Pathfinder. It's a very off-meta pick, and it looks a little something like this. So as I said, we're a Pathfinder, and we are an Uber Lab speed farmer, so we are min-maxing our movement speed like crazy. So that being said, in terms of our Ascendancy choices, we're taking Nature's Boon, we're taking Master Alchemist, we're taking Nature's Adrenaline, this being the most important notable of these being semi-optional, this is quite a good one, this definitely optional, and we're taking Master Surgeon, this prevents any bleeding, this gives us more movement speed during any flask effect, this gives us a lot of flask charges gained and basically makes it so that we never run out of flask charges. This gives us immunity to elemental ailments during our flask effects. This is really nice because getting ignited when you only have 2000 HP is a pretty big deal, and it frees up a flask slot so we don't have to have immunity to elemental ailments or immunity to burning or shock or whatever on our flasks. We can just focus on movement speed oriented flasks. So that's why I've allocated this. Another one that you could take, depending on what you're doing, is the Veteran Bower. This gives you physical damage as extra elemental extra elemental ailment. This is better if you're doing the minor variant. There is a Uber Lab speed farmer that utilizes mines or traps, and essentially what you do is you take 2 Shaper Scepters or 2 Shaper Wands, you roll 2 of the Fizz as extra blank element modifier on those, and let's say you're running something like Glacial Cascade, which is a 60% physical, 40% cold damage spell, or maybe it's the other way around, maybe it's 60% cold, 40% physical. It doesn't matter. My point is, it's a physical damage base that gets converted into an element, and so therefore the Fizz as extra actually scales up that damage quite a lot. So in that case, what you would do is you throw out a whole bunch of mines right under Azaro's feet, detonate them as soon as his health bar appears, and bam, Azaro's down, right? Phase is over. And so this notable would be really good for those kinds of builds. However, I'm not one of those kinds of builds, and I have died a couple times to elemental ailments, getting ignited and then running and killing myself. Ignite, bleed, and shock at the same time. Turns out you don't want none of that. It's not very good. So I don't have any of that anymore. And then beyond that, as you can see, we're searching the movement notables all over the passive tree. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these. I've attempted to make this video about 5 or 6 times now, and I'm just getting very unlucky in terms of my clears of the Labyrinth, so don't want to talk about that too much, but we are running 2 Transcendent Spirits. What this does is it deletes the dexterity off of these passives right here. So even though they say 10 dex, we're not actually getting that, and what we're getting is 125 flat accuracy for each one of these notables, as well as 3% increased movement speed. So this is giving us 18% movement speed here, 18% movement speed here. Then we also have a pure talent Viridian Jewel. This just straight up gives us 7% increased movement speed because we're a raider, or a ranger rather. Aside from that, there's really not a whole lot going on for movement speed over on this side of the tree, but what I am doing is stacking Impale stuff, because I am playing an Impale double strike character. I got a really interesting item from a red tier elder kill earlier in the league, and I have been looking for something that I can actually utilize it on, and I've decided to plug it into this build, and it's actually working to great effect. So what this is doing is it's basically just giving us 4 additional jewel sockets, turning this axe into a 7-link axe, and so what we have is Chance to Bleed support, Ancestral Call, melee physical damage, multi-strike, a great deal of attack speed, a respectable amount of physical damage, and then we just rolled some flat fizz on it as well. And then you have the 21-23 Val Double Strike, which is quite nice, and Awakened Brutality support, which is just a little extra fancy, gives us some extra physical damage reduction against our hits to the enemies, so this just basically is a more damage multiplier. Regular Brutality does work, this is obviously better. And then obviously we have Impale support as well. To further increase our movement speed, we're running a Devoto's Devotion. This also has the Smoke Mine grants additional movement speed enchant on the helmet, which is really, really nice. It's not necessarily required, but if you want to win, it is. We do have a Queen of the Forest, and we're stacking as much evasion as we could possibly get. We have a Perpetua synthesize Ezomite Shield. This gives us a maximum of 20% increased movement speed. We're running the 7 League Steps, and these can actually be enchanted. I know you're not supposed to do that. These are no longer leveling 7 League Steps. They're specifically for lab farming now. I cannot be stunned for the most part on these, but what you actually want, once I actually get my helmet properly enchanted, is the increased movement speed if you have not been hit recently. That will increase these up to, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% increased movement speed while you're not being hit. It's pretty nice. And then we have a String of Servitude. This gives us 36% increased movement speed during any flask effect. So when you combine all of these things together... Oops, I weapon swapped. I just dropped my auras. So when you combine all of these things together, I'm going to wait for my haste to come up too, because that's a big deal. And so we're looking at the movement speed. At baseline, we have 194%. When we pop everything, we actually go up to 518%. It's pretty nice. So this is being achieved with a very, very, very high quality phase run, as well as a smoke mine that is supported by increased duration and second wind. This just gives us more charges. Basically, it makes the cooldown recovery time if I need to spam them, which I very rarely do. I do that every once in a while if I'm feeling really accurate and really skilled and there's a lot of closed doors that I could just jump through as opposed to actually clicking on. Doesn't happen too often. There was a thing that I was doing with the Soul Ripper. I'm just not even going to talk about it. It works for some builds. It allows you to get a Vol Molten Shell out really quickly at the beginning of the Azaro fight. That'll basically make it so that you're impervious to any kind of damage, and it will allow you to more or less burst Azaro down during the duration of your Vol Molten Shell without having to worry about getting one shot, which is why I've taken so many takes on this this recording today. I've been getting very unlucky with my chance to dodge today. The last thing I want to talk about is a lot of players run an anointment called Freedom of Movement. This gives you the Freedom of Movement passive, obviously, and that states that you have increased movement speed while phasing. The way I'm accessing phasing with this character is through a phasing while affected by haste, Watcher's Eye. This is unnecessary. What most players do is they run a Allure Vol Claw in their weapon swap, their first weapon slot, and what that does is it provides you with more of an opportunity to gain phasing when you kill an enemy, and it also has a 15% increased movement speed modifier on it. So what that does is when you have this allocation, as well as that Vol Claw, you get the 15% movement speed from the Vol Claw, you get another 10 from the Karui Charge, and then you get another 10 while you're phasing. That's about 55% increased movement speed that I actually am missing out on. So I could take this character all the way up to about a 580% increased movement speed if I did that. Still trying to figure out if that's something that I care about doing, because I'll lose a lot of DPS by dropping this item. We'll see. We'll see. So, hopefully I don't get bodied by Azaro again. I've been getting really unlucky this morning. And let's just see how it looks once we get into the lab. Now, yesterday I was having much better luck than I'm having today, and I was capable of coming in 4th place in the world in terms of my Delirium Trade League Uber Lab clear speed. That was an unlucky little pathing right there. I got a 4 minute and 13 second time trial for yesterday's thing. The best in the world was doing a 2 minute and 30-ish second, but they're using a completely different mechanic to be as fast as they are, and so we're just not going to be capable of that unless we make some very, very major changes to the build, which I will, but I just won't right now. Right now I'm just enjoying my version of this. So as you can see, when you know where to go, you can be very, very, very quick with this character. So this is the moment of truth. I've been having a hard time with this encounter while I'm trying to talk, so rather than talking, I'm just gonna fight this guy, because I've been getting bodied pretty hard, and it's making me a little frustrated this morning, so lay down the Ancestral War Chief, and then proceed to not die. Oh, you know what it is? It's because I'm not killing the vulnerability totem. So he should be phased. There we go. Oh, and I'm in the habit of switching to the Vol Flask. You don't have to. Please go, sir. You're very slow. So as you can see, we do go pretty damn quick with this. It's a good feeling. I could very easily die here, so I'm gonna focus up as well. That's lucky. That was the easy puzzle. We got lucky with this one. I believe it's just a straight run right here. Perfect. So the reason that I have been engaging in this content is there's actually an item called the Emperor's Mastery, which is a passive tree jewel that gives you a percentage increase to your attributes, maximum health. I believe it gives you global defenses, and aside from all of that, it also gives you increased character size, which is a sort of an MTX thing that a lot of people actually really enjoy. It's kind of a status symbol, and the Emperor's Mastery, which is the version of the jewel that you can get from the completion of the Eternal Lab with the world's fastest speed on any given day, is I think currently valued at something like 80 exalts, 60 to 80 exalts. So if you can actually be very, very successful on this character on a consistent basis, you can actually basically guarantee yourself several hundred exalted orbs a week simply by running a very fast Uber Labyrinth. This is the wrong route. So this is how you don't get that jewel. You start making mistakes. But that's okay. I'm a little bit more focused on making a quality video than I am anything else. I do know this route pretty well. I've done something like 50 attempts in the past 24 hours, so it just comes with the territory, you know? When you get comfortable with what you're doing, you just get faster at it, right? Practice makes perfect, and so 50 attempts, I think I feel pretty comfortable and confident in saying that 50 attempts is pretty damn good practice as I take the wrong route. Thus embarrassing myself entirely. But so this character kind of can take a hit, not really from Azaro, unfortunately, but that'll be rectified as soon as we actually get Vol Molten Shell. I think that would be good. So what we do now is I do actually have Culling Strike on my Ancestral Warchief totems, and that will become apparent why that's important right about now. I was in that? I beg to differ. Okay, and that's a relatively fast Uber Lab, right? I think we can all agree. So, let's see what we got. Now the reason that I'm doing this is because I actually like to min-max my characters quite a bit. I think min-maxing characters is a lot of fun. So, I did this as a meme. Don't judge me for the price, I just did it as a meme. If you saw that price tag, don't worry about it. It was just... So, I've been looking for a... oh, Earthquake duration's actually not bad. Nice, dude. I think I might finally be done. I think I can swap that other character over to Earthquake just fine, because it turns out that I actually have the hardest hitting physical DPS mace in the game. So I could actually just stop right now. That's pretty cool. So this is exactly why I've been coming to this lab, because now I can actually make a Vol Earthquake character that would be very, very successful. So that's a lot of fun. And I can make it a strength stacker. Yay! Great. That's so cool. Okay, lots of fun happening right now. Perfect example of why I enjoy doing this. Hooray! So, that being said, in order to end the video, I'm going to take a very quick second to actually go to the Path of Exile official website. I'm doing this off camera, and I'm just going to click on the Delirium, the Eternal Lab, and I'm sorry for what you're about to see. Boom. So, as you can see, the Delirium League. This is the Uber Lab, the Eternal Lab ladder for yesterday, and it looks like I've actually dropped in rank quite a bit. This morning when I actually started recording this video, I was in 4th place, and it looks like a lot of people have logged in. So that shows you exactly how competitive this actually is. We have about 4 hours before the league, not the league, but before the ladder resets for the day, and we get a whole new layout to the Labyrinth. This morning, just literally like an hour and a half ago, I was in 4th place with a time of 4 minutes and 13 seconds, which is very respectable. I'm still in the top 20 on the first page. And yeah, it looks like this guy's improved his time greatly. The Smell of Napalm guy has been winning every single one of these. So one of the last things I want to show you is the reason that this is such a compelling race for me to run. Emperors. Helps if you know how to spell. Emperor's Mastery, Prismatic Jewel, is the reward that you get if you're the Smell of Napalm. It's really kind of just a meme item. I mean, it's a great item. Increase attributes, increase maximum life, increase character size, increase global defenses. It's a pretty poggers passive tree jewel. It literally can fit into every single build in the game and be effective, unless you're running like a CI something. But it basically anything other than that. And as you can see, it's an incredibly valuable item, and being that there are literally only 2 available, I'm sure the Smell of Napalm guy, because literally every single day that I've ran this race, he has won it. I'm sure he has a big pile of these in a tab somewhere, but there's a little bit of an artificial scarcity thing going on. It's an amazing reward to be able to guarantee yourself 70 Exalted Orbs a day, provided that the item sells, but I've been having a lot of fun with this race myself. I think it's a great way to spend the remainder of my league. There's lots of min-maxing to be done still. It gives me something to pursue, and honestly, the complexities of the mechanic of this character in terms of the pushing this character even higher is going to require the utilization of a mechanic that's known as reverse chill. We're not chill. We have no chill, in fact. And what that does is that basically through the utilization of 2 rings and a belt, dramatically increases your movement speed. So we can keep basically the exact same passive tree. I dropped my arguably really incredible rings for some very shitty rings, but those shitty rings will give me much more movement speed. And then I can actually give these guys a run for their money. But that being said, it gives me a lot to do. The ceiling's really high. As you can see, I've done, let's just roll it back. Oh my goodness. So, you know, like, I've done pretty well for myself. 4 minutes and 13 seconds is great, but there's still a whole 2 minutes worth of time that I could shave off. There's a lot of room for improvement, and that's something that I find very compelling to engage in. Solving the problems of the build, making the build the best that it can possibly be, and then being pretty handsomely rewarded for it. So that's what I intend to do for the remainder of my league. It's been a lot of fun. To me, it's important, specifically because this guy right here, he's got a lot of really negative things to say to the Exile, and I genuinely believe that exposing yourself to that type of negativity over and over again in every single map that you enter, for every single map that you run over the course of however long you spend in Path of Exile in Ray class over the course of a day. If you're like me, you play the game every day, you run at least 1 map every single day, you're hearing these really negative phrases from this guy every single day, all day. And whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, hearing all that negative stuff, it does get under your skin at some point. It does kind of work its way into your subconscious, and if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, like I am, I hate to admit that, it might affect you, you know, it might take away from your PMA, right? I try to have a PMA, positive mental attitude, as much as possible. However, this guy is pretty good at pushing my buttons. He's got a couple voice lines that he says that are things that actually make me feel bad, and actually are things that I worry about in myself. And that was the point for the creation of this character. The people at GGG actually did a little bit of research about different psychological phenomena that can happen across a stratum of different kinds of people, And they did a really good job. He has a voice line for just about every single neurotic complex that a human being could possibly have, every single kind of anxiety that a person could possibly have. And he does a really good job triggering me. And so I really like to run the Uber Lab because, in my opinion, Izaro is basically one of the only people that has any positive, encouraging, and uplifting voice lines in the game. So rather than exposing myself to this delirious trickster who's telling me that I should feel bad about myself, I'm hanging out with Izaro a little bit every single day so I can hear these positive affirmations, these uplifting remarks. I want somebody to tell me how inexhaustible I am and how tenacious I am and how magnificent my accomplishments are, and how inspired I should be with every day dawning golden and new, and how triumphant I should feel about my accomplishments. And so rather than exposing myself to this, NMA, this negative mental attitude, I'm hanging out with Izaro because Izaro's on Team PMA, and I want to be too. So it's an important thing for me. It means something to me. It's a little bit silly, maybe. You might not believe in it. You might think it's silly mumbo jumbo, but that's what I studied when I was in school. I am a psychologist. I have multiple degrees in it. I've spent a lot of time sitting in a classroom learning about these psychological phenomenons. It's a real thing, and you might be sensitive to it. You might not. I am, and so I'm exposing myself to as much positivity as I can right now as sort of an aftercare for what was a fantastic league. Delirium was such a good league, and it is the voices, in many regards, the voices, the item, the voices in the mist, the fog. It was a fantastic league. I loved every second of it, but I want to get a palate cleanser, get a little bit of some aftercare, like I said. I'm trying to, after the abuse of the psychological torture that this trickster god has put us through, I'm trying to lift myself back up in preparation for the next league. And it might be a good thing to think about doing for yourself as well if you find that you're struggling with your mental attitude right now. Hang out with Izaro. Izaro's on Team PMA, and he's fucking awesome. So I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves right now. It's really important. I hope you guys are feeling good. I hope you guys are doing good. And I'm having a lot of fun with this, and you could be too. It's actually not that expensive of a build if you want to go about the other route. I encourage you to check out that ladder. You can click on other people's names on the ladder. It'll show you at least the items that they're utilizing. It won't necessarily explain anything to you, but you can file through a whole bunch of different players and see how they're able to achieve a lot of different types of movement speed and how they're able to actually overcome Izaro, who is actually a pretty challenging boss, especially when you're gimping yourself as hard as I am. It's a lot of fun. And another thing that I want to say before I leave the video is, if you're playing a Herald Stacker, which you probably are, I want to let you know that at baseline, just by being a Herald Stacker, you already have pretty close to 400% increased movement speed just from enhancing the effect of Haste and Grace. So all you really have to do if you're running a Herald Stacker is get a Smoke Mine enchant, and then run Smoke Mine and Phase Run, and take off your Doriani's Delusions and put on 7 League Steps, and I guarantee you will have a fighting chance. I guarantee you. Just simply by being a Herald Stacker and putting on 7 League Steps, you will actually have a fighting chance on this ladder. I was capable of hitting the top 10 every day on a Herald Stacking Guardian with nothing special. Well, I mean, it's a Herald Stacking Guardian, so it is special in its own way, but you know what I mean. So give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. I've been having a great time. And yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope you guys have fun. Hope you guys are taking care. Hope you guys are being good to one another. And I'll see you again soon.